And Clark, you can go ahead.
Stan, Christian Clark here with Null.com. I know there were a number of things we talked about after the game last night. Just what was your immediate focus today with the team?
It was all on defense. I mean, look, we talked about what's been going on this road trip and everything. And if you look, like, we've played – the Lakers are the number one defensive team in the league right now. Utah's seventh. Clippers are in the middle of the pack. Sacramento, like us, has struggled defensively. So, by and large, we've played really good defensive teams. And in that 5-game stretch, we're 11th in the league offensively. So, we need to understand where our problems are. That's not to say that we don't need to get better at the offensive end of the floor, but we need to understand we're coming in and playing good defensive teams and playing fairly efficiently offensively, and we're just not getting the job done defensively. And so that was the focus. That was the entire focus of the film. We didn't show any offensive film. And it was 90% of the focus of practice. We did do a little bit of offense near the end.
And Stan, I mean, 4 of these past 5 games, I mean, you just hit on it a little bit. They've been against, I mean, really, really good teams. When you see that on the schedule, like, are you thinking, oh, man, are you thinking this is going to be a good challenge? Are you thinking it just is?
Yeah, pretty much it just is. Like, you can't worry about the schedule. You play each night's game as it comes up. And yeah, right now, Lakers, Clippers, Utah are the 3 best teams in the league. So, yeah, it's been a tough stretch. We can't get down about it. What we need to do is learn and get better. And at the defensive end of the floor, we've got to get our aggression back. We've got to be tougher. We've had stretches in all of those games where we've defended pretty well. And a lot of times you defend well and the other team still scores. And we have tended to drop our heads a little bit, get frustrated and discouraged instead of fighting through it. And that's something we talked about today also.
I'm assuming I'm next. What's up, Stan? This is Will from The Athletic. I think you probably just mentioned it there a little bit, but is there anything you look at when you watch the film and say, okay, we can do this immediately and fix some of our problems? I know there's probably a lot going on right now, but is there something you point to and say, hey, if we do this right now, we'll get better on defense?
Well, there's a lot of things. If we would do it immediately, we would get better defensively, but it usually is not an overnight thing when you're struggling. And it'll take some time, and it's about habit building. And our habits have slipped since the early part of the season, which is something I talked about even before the game yesterday. And we've got to find a way to get our habits back, but really to get a defensive disposition back where we play harder, where we're into people more, putting pressure on people, where we're closing out harder, where everything is just done at a higher level. And we've let it slip. And, we need to go to work to build better habits. So you don't build a habit in one game or in one practice or overnight. It's day after day after day after day.
And I know you guys changed things up a little bit with your pick and roll coverage against the Jazz. Is that something you want to stick with going forward, or was that just about that particular matchup?
Well, what I think we want to be able to do is, be able to make adjustments. And we hadn't been able to do that up until that point. So, we want to be able to adjust based on who we're playing, and even within a game to give people different looks. I think we're equipped to do that now. And we'll just, we'll decide from game to game and from, quarter to quarter or whatever it may be in a game.
Hey, Stan, it's Andrew from ESPN. I know we briefly talked about the road trip itself yesterday, but do you think, I guess, some of the issues are coming from the fact that guys are just very tired of being on this road trip and not really having much to do? And do you think that can be carrying over to the court, that it's just kind of weighing on them a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's certainly possible. It's a long road trip, but again, we've talked about stuff like that. Listen, I mean, we've got to find a way to go out and do our jobs when it's time to go. And our group's been great in practice, and for good stretches in in all of these games. We've just got to find a way to sustain it for longer, to shorten other people's runs, and to not get discouraged and frustrated, and just to continue to play. So that's our challenge going forward. It's our challenge tomorrow night as we try to end this trip on a good note.
Yeah, and I know Lonzo just came back, but how are you feeling just about your starting backcourt and where they are right now? Is that a pairing you want to stick with, or just how are you feeling about where they are?
It's interesting, and I just don't. That's not where my major thinking is. I mean, I'm not saying we don't think about that, but I see a team-wide loss of defensive disposition. I see times in games where we lose the will to move the ball and play together offensively. And so, we're not right now looking to point fingers or to change things up in terms of personnel. We need all those guys, and we need everybody to play at a higher level in those areas. And so that's where my focus is right now.
Stan, Andrew Doak from CBS in New Orleans. How much do you feel like some of those defensive lapses can carry over to the offensive side of the court, where maybe you could get some more production, or maybe that momentum is not able to be carried over because of some of those defensive lapses? I mean, do you feel like at times maybe your defense or your team could get down a little bit based on some of those buckets given up, so you can't carry that momentum over to the offensive side?
Well, I mean, that definitely happens, Andrew, but also I think more tangibly, what happens is us, like most teams in this league, our most productive offense comes off getting stops and be able to get out in transition and play. And when we don't get stops, and especially when we don't get stops for a long period of time, then we're facing set defense where we're not quite as good. And that's what's happened in all of these runs. It is sort of snowballed. We're not getting out where we're most productive, and we're not stopping people at the other end, and it's snowballed into long runs. And so we got to be better at both ends. But to me, our defense sets the tone, and we just have to get that disposition back of really thinking of ourselves as a defensive team, taking a lot of pride in that, working together in all of that, and developing our team spirit around that.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the time.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Get started here with Nikhil. Christian Clark, you want to lead us off?
Hey, Nikhil, Christian Clark here with Null.com. Stan just mentioned today was primarily focused on defense. Just what do you think are some things you guys can do, immediately to, I guess, get things going in the right direction there?
Well, speaking for self, I can play with, I guess, more fight, more energy. Trying to set a tone, talking more on defense, just clearing the air, like communicating, getting into the ball, trying to fight over screens to relieve pressure from the bigs and our weak side guys.
Yeah, we're coming towards the end of this road trip, and I'm pretty sure this is the longest road trip of your career. It probably feels like that, knowing how much you can't really do anything. So just what's it been like just mentally for you, for the team, just dealing with this long stretch, being away from home, stuck in hotel rooms, stuff like that?
Oh, that's crazy. Kind of feels like two separate road trips and one. Like going from Dallas to LA and being in California that whole time and staying here for so long, you almost feel like it's been like forever since you've been in New Orleans. It's really starting to pile up, but I mean, it's brought me a lot closer to some teammates. Just been able to hang out with them, talk to them, and appreciate like the camaraderie we have.
Nikhil, this is Jim from Pelicans.com. I have a very outside the box kind of question. You guys have a homestand coming up of 6 games. I'm doing an article about the music that they're playing at the games this year. They definitely made an effort to kind of get more input from the players as far as the music. And I know you guys were given the choice of picking like what music clip you wanted for when you score a basket. What went behind the clip that you chose for like when you score this year?
Just kind of like the number, like my number changed being number 6. Felt like it was fitting to go with something Drake. I forgot which song it was where he was like 66666 and he just kept saying it. But I just did like one of the Drake songs I liked and I just put that on there.
Do you remember what they played last year? Did you pick what they played when you were a rookie, or was that just kind of chosen and they went with that?
So it's actually weird. I do remember what they picked, but to this day I don't think they've ever played it. I could be wrong. Like I've just never heard it. I literally hear everyone else's and I never hear mine. Probably because I'm like into the game. But
Sure.
It was "Oh Canada," and I think someone helping us figure it out because I didn't know what to decide. Said like you should do "Oh Canada." So I just said I just went with that.
Thanks.
I think they should have used 1,000 Miles after your karaoke performance last year. Back to the road trip itself. Do you think that part of it is starting to kind of weigh on you guys a little bit of just being in your hotel room all day? It's either practice or that. Do you think that's starting to maybe zap your energy a little bit? Because it does seem it's like later in games where the energy is starting to kind of drop off a little bit.
I wouldn't say so. Like I wouldn't put it on the game. It's like what we signed up for. To be the best, you gotta like devote time and like that with anything. To master something, it takes time and repetition and hours and countless sleepless nights and early mornings and so forth. So I feel like it'd just be more discipline. I feel like we're a young team and we have some young tendencies. And I think for us to be able to kind of figure that out now rather than later, it'll put us in a better position late game.
All right. Thank you, Nikhil. Appreciate it.
Thank you. No problem.
Stan said yesterday, he felt like you guys had been on the road so long that he was like, "Oh, where are we from again?" And he's kind of kidding, half serious. But I mean, for you personally, just how long has it felt like this road trip has lasted?
Well, I just felt like we've been to Utah longer than anything. This road trip has been pretty long, especially just being in the hotel every single day, and then hopefully getting a chance to go to the gym and getting back to the hotel. But I mean, it's been a long trip for all of us.
It's Andrew from ESPN. Do you think the trip itself is starting to weigh on you guys and maybe draining a little bit of that energy just because it's been staying in the room all day, maybe going to the gym, getting to the game, and that's just about it? And it's day, 11 or 12 of that now?
I mean, that can drain the energy a little bit. I think what's draining the energy is just us just trying to figure out how to win, and caring so much about winning. And us actually losing these basketball games, I think that drains our energy a little bit. But getting to come in and come into the gym again, it gets our spirits up and get us prepared for the next game.
Yeah, this is Will from The Athletic. Just from watching the film, do you see specific areas where you feel like it's more important to improve on defense, or is there areas where you feel like there's something you can immediately improve on the defensive end just from what you've seen?
Well, I think it's possessions that we have to have more of a sense of urgency on throughout the game. I don't think it's one point of the basketball game. I think one point of the basketball game is where all teams do it. They make runs. And I think, of course, we have to do a better job of answering the run, but also just staying together. I think that was the main focus today, and just stand together and stand with our defense and whatever we're doing.
Brandon, Christian Clark here one more time. 4 of your past 5 games have been, against some pretty good teams. After going through, I guess, that measuring stick, like what are your thoughts on just, how far there is to go to get to that kind of level?
We have a ways to go. Of course, we have some new guys, we have some young guys, but we're taking the young part of not being an excuse anymore. We're just all coming together. We have a new coach, we have a new system, and we're just trying to figure it out on the offensive end, on the defensive end, and we're trusting in coach, we're trusting in ourselves, and we're learning to trust in each other. So we just continue to fight and try to figure it out, but we have faith in everything.
Yeah, and I know how much emphasis you put on the defensive end, and how, after games, that's usually the first thing you want to talk about. So when you see it kind of slipping the way it has the past few games, I guess, what does it take to kind of get it back on the right track where you want it to be?
Just to continue to encourage guys to get into the basketball, encourage guys to be the low man, knowing that we have guys behind each other, and continue to communicate. I think communication solves a lot of things. If guys know that they have help, they can get into the basketball, and we just scatter around everywhere. But it starts with communication and trust.
All right. Thank you, B. I appreciate it.